This is Roberta Foster, and I welcome you to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word. And today I welcome Kristin Faith Evans to Author's Corner. She and her husband, Todd Evans, wrote the book, How to Build a Thriving Marriage as You Care for Children with Disabilities. It's published by Baker Books, a division of Baker Publishing Group, and she'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. A little bit about our authors. Kristin and Todd are award-winning authors, speakers, and disability parents. They have earned their Master's in Christian Educational Ministries at Wheaton College in Illinois and have served together in full-time ministry in church camping and retreat settings. Kristin, thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Roberta.
Well, this is a very necessary book. We see books on marriage from all types of different angles, but I think this is the first one that's come across my desk that helps couples to learn about some of the roadblocks and some hindrances and stresses by raising children with disabilities. So what caused you to want to write the book?
Yeah, so my husband and I, we've been married 22 years. Originally went in, got married to go into ministry together, started that path. Very quickly, when our daughter, Bethany Grace, who's now 14, was diagnosed with a severe chromosomal deletion, our life and our marriage began to look very different from all the expectations and dreams we held.
Okay.
And we really began to struggle in every single way. We struggled in our marriage, my mental health, just trying to get through one day at a time. And through that, we were at our lowest point. We decided we weren't going to give up on our marriage or each other.
Yeah.
And we began to try and figure out how to strengthen our marriage. And we just kept hitting challenge after challenge. We couldn't find any help. Went to marriage counseling. We were told to read, typical marriage books, and we're like, these don't apply to us. And so we kind of figured out on our own how to make it work. And looking back 3 or 4 years ago, we've come to a very different place now. We're in a thriving, joyful marriage. I went back to school, got my master's in social work, began to research, and we discovered that couples who are parenting children with any type of special needs have to learn additional marriage skills. They just aren't talked about. There is research, lots of professional research going on. So we kind of combined all that research, our personal experience, our ministry experience, and have put together a book of the simple skills that these couples have to learn in order to have a thriving marriage.
We'll get to some of those skills that you've learned, but talk to us about some of the special stresses that are part of a marriage that have children with disabilities.
So, think about marriage and parenting stress in general for typical couples. Not typical, but the average couple. Everything about life and marriage and parenting is just double stress. So you got a child, you got to take care of a child and get them to whatever, activities. Well, if you have a child with special needs, on top of that, you may have to get them to different therapies, different doctor's appointments. Like our daughter, we have to do medical care around the clock with feeding tube and medicines. Parenting is more stressful because you have a child with additional either communication needs or challenging behaviors, and it's complicated. And so that parenting stress can cause conflict. You have less time together to talk. The time you do have together, you're having to talk about very intense issues about your child's care. You have chronic grief that you're dealing with, financial strain. I could go on and on. But every area of life and marriage and family, just the stress piles up.
And so one of the things you talked about are shattered dreams and things like that. And so tell us about how disability parents can move from grief to hope even when they see their dreams being shattered.
So the first thing we discovered was we were on the fence. You know, we had this dream of all these things we were going to do in our marriage and family. And when that became devastated, we just couldn't move forward. And so the first step that we talk about is the couple has to look at their wedding vows, now knowing what that means in sickness and health, for better, for worse, rich or poor, and recommit to those vows to moving forward together. And the next step is really looking at their life, their reality and circumstances, and grieving, you know, those lost dreams. At least, you know, for now, they, you know, you might be able to bring those back, and moving towards a journey of acceptance and truly being present in life and reality, and then readjusting those expectations to practical. How can we find joy together in our real circumstances? And the grief and the acceptance, it's a continual journey throughout, you know, the child's life.
Well, today I'm talking with Kristin Faith Evans about the book, How to Build a Thriving Marriage as You Care for Children with Disabilities. It's published by Baker Books, a division of Baker Publishing Group, and you're listening to Author's Corner. If you miss any part of today's interview or would just like to hear it again, I'm pleased to let you know that you can now find it on your favorite podcast provider or through kneo.org. So, Kristin, you mentioned having other steps of going through and making sure that the marriage is on a healthy platform. So tell us about some more of those.
So it takes baby steps in the little moments, because couples who have a child with special needs don't have lots of time together typically. And so it's the little things throughout the day. The commitment of we're going to check in for 5 to 10 minutes every day and talk about just us, just how you're doing, how I'm doing. That's critical. And it's also, we have to learn different communication skills as couples. And so there's some different, more effective ways that we talk about. You have to learn coping skills, advanced coping skills. Just like if you're in the wilderness, you have to learn advanced survival skills. I had to learn lots of mental health coping skills. We had to learn how to cope with stress as a couple, and we have to learn how to move through this chronic grief together, supporting one another. So those are just a couple of the additional skills these couples have to learn.
Well, one of the things that you talk about in your book is that caregiving parents are often feeling alone. There's not probably a huge community of caregiving parents in any given community, let alone in smaller communities. I'm not sure where you are or the size of your community, but you know, parents that have special needs kids that live in rural areas would probably have even less opportunity to have somebody to talk to about it. So how did you create a community for yourself, or did you find help with other people from other groups?
So it can be very isolating for so many reasons. And oftentimes these are the parents and families you don't see out in the community. So we're kind of hidden.
Okay.
And at first, I definitely isolated. I think Todd and I isolated together. You feel like nobody understands. You know, you get so many comments that you just kind of start to withdraw. I did have a couple friends who had children with special needs that I would, you know, talk to on the phone. But I actually avoided joining any kind of online group or support group because it seemed too painful. And we were in a small town when Bethany Grace was young, so there wasn't a support group really. I actually began one at our church with 5 other moms. But in terms of rural areas, one of the most effective ways to connect, there are really good live online support groups for special needs moms, dads, couples, and they're very effective. And we strongly believe in those. So we have links to those on our website because support groups are critical for the health of the family and the marriage. So I would say to anybody who has a child with extra needs, please find that support. We actually live in the Nashville area now, so there's a lot of resources, and we actually attend a church that has a huge special needs ministry. And I would just say that's one of the most critical is find a support group, whether online or in person.
So as we're quickly running out of time, what is one additional tip or factor that you want to bring to our listeners' attention about making sure that you have a thriving marriage?
You know, one of the things that our daughter Bethany Grace has taught us is whether or not she's very sick, which is often, or kind of struggling or suffering, she welcomes each new day with joy and gratitude and just living in the moment. And that actually has been one of the biggest facts of life that has filled our marriage with joy. And so, you know, as I kind of alluded to, it's the little moments and gratitude towards God, just living in the moment of the day. That's where you really begin to connect as a couple and find joy.
So how about for people that are listening today that don't have children with special needs, what would you suggest that they do to provide support for any disability parents that they do know?
I would say, you know, a lot of times people are scared they're going to say the wrong thing or offend us. Please reach out to say, can I bring you coffee? Hey, I'm going to the grocery store. I'd like to bring you some groceries. And we may say no 3 times. keep persisting. Then we'll know you're genuine.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things you can do for a couple is we have to have some moments together without the kids. One of the most beautiful gifts is saying, hey, what kind of meal can I bring? Can I bring someone else? Can we sit with your kids and you two go sit on the porch and have a meal together? That is one of the most beautiful gifts.
Wow. It's something very simple that just allows the couple, the parents, to have some alone time.
Yes.
All right. Well, today I've been talking with Kristin Faith Evans. She co-wrote How to Build a Thriving Marriage as You Care for Children with Disabilities with her husband, Todd. And so, Kristin, how can people find out about this book and any resources that you have available for parents with disability children?
Our website is disabilityparenting.com. We have lots of free resources you can download, faith, mental health, and marriage resources, lots of links to resources, lots of information about the book. The book is available anywhere books and ebooks are sold. So Amazon, Baker Books, Target, Walmart. So pretty much anywhere it's available.
All righty. Well, one more time, the book is called How to Build a Thriving Marriage as You Care for Children with Disabilities. It's written by Kristin Faith Evans and Todd Evans. And we do thank Baker Books, a division of Baker Publishing Group, for giving us a copy of the book to talk about today. And it has been a true pleasure speaking with you, Kristin, and thank you so much for taking the time to put these resources and this book available for future parents with disability children.
Thank you for having me on the show, Roberta.
And to our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join us again next time.
Hi, I'm Sue Taylor, and I host the Faith to Live By podcast, available from the Sky High Podcast Network. Are you looking for a little spiritual pick-me-up as you begin your day? Each weekday morning, I have a short devotional thought to get you going and give you something to reflect on as you go about your day. Faith is not just something you need when you get saved. Faith is something you live by. Look up Faith to Live By with Sue Taylor wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe today.